Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Black and Beautiful Chit Chat Connections. I'm so happy you're here with me, my Black and Beautiful family, and I'm also happy because we have an amazing guest with us. We have Alex Dumas, who is a leadership coach. He is an expert in teaching you how to elevate your career, take some self-reflection, and really dig deep into what the meaning is of your abundance in your career trajectory. So I am so happy to have him here with us today. Last week, you saw Black portrait photography with Rakaya Lynette Hernandez, and we saw some beautiful portraits of Black folks, and we're changing the narrative of how Black folks are seen in the world. So I thank you guys for tuning in. If you have not tuned in, go ahead and scroll back and take a look at that webisode. And, we're just going to keep moving for today. So I am going to introduce, but also allow my guests to introduce themselves. We have strategies to developing your talent. We are going to talk about these strategies today with our wonderful guest, Alex Dumas. And the crowd goes wild. So Alex, introduce yourself to us. Please let the Black and Beautiful family know who you are, what you're about, and, all the amazing things that you want to share.
Yeah, thank you, Charlene. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for this invitation to connect with you and connect with your audience. As you described before, yes, I'm a leadership coach. I dubbed myself as the life success creator because who doesn't want a successful, significant life? And I love that introduction you did for your past guests about portraits, right? And that's how I think of my work with people and entrepreneurs and businesses, of this blank canvas that they are, and then helping them realize that they have, I'm holding a pen for those who aren't watching, but think of this as a paintbrush. You're the artist, you're the author of your story. And I just help people remind themselves of that power. And it's a beautiful opportunity. And what I love doing and how I love working with people is helping them remember their own brilliance. And part of my story has come from not recognizing that for myself for a long time. Growing up in New York, I had different challenges. That's one way I could look at it, right? My life is this. I didn't feel this way. I felt abandoned here, or felt neglected here. And then there's the other side of it, like, wow, I had a really great childhood. I was safe. I had my parents who loved me, my brothers, my sister. I had a great community of friends. I was an athlete. I played, I drew. I played music, all these different things. So for myself, it's the work of coaching has helped me recognize that I have this choice of which story I'm going to believe. The story of, wow, I'm ignored, I'm insignificant, I'm not important, I'm all these things that I've collected over the years of people's judgments and resentments and my own internal beliefs and thoughts. Or I could look at the other lens of, wow, I had a great time. I thought differently from other people. I was a little bit weird, but that's been my superpower. I can think different from other people. I can see what they can't see. And my job, if you want to call it this profession, is helping people recognize that, just wake up to, wow, I'm important. I'm valuable. I have something to offer the world, and nobody can do it like I do it. So let's have a great time doing that and being that.
I love that. It just makes me think about, I'm a woman of faith. This is a faith-filled podcast, a platform. And so I just think about, like, when you realize God's potential, not God's potential, your potential through God, right? Like his lens, he says, I know the thoughts that I plan for you, right? Thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you an expected end. So which story will you believe? Will you believe in the abundance? Would you believe in the good story, the expected end that God gives you? Or are you going to believe in the negativity that we all know the enemy, is whispering in your ear that you're not good enough and you're not going to be able to make it? And, you have you have all these insecurities. And those oftentimes are not God's godly thoughts, and they're not even your own thoughts. They're thoughts that are imposed on you by, negative forces. And so I love that you help individuals understand the difference between the two and really pick a choice, right? Like choose which one you want to believe in. And the way you do that is by believing your own story, right? Believing that you can achieve and have what it is that you set out to have. So talk to us a little bit more about what Abundance Daily Coaching is, and like how your expertise, as an advisor, a top performing leader, sales, marketing, teamwork. How does that fit into the work that you do when you're working with clients?
Yes, great question. And I want to just go back and revisit something really quickly, what you said, which I picked up on. You said, the enemy whispers. And I want to, for me, my relationship with that is that the enemy is noisy, right? The world, noisy, loud, getting attention, it's in your ears. And God's the whisperer. And it's only when we slow down, we get silent. You think about the word silent and listen, they have the same letters in them. We just got to remember which ones to pay attention to. And every nudge or any intuition that I tap into, it always comes in that moment of stillness of just, oh, I hear that. I can hear you because I'm not moving. I'm not in a race to get to my future. And that's taken a long time to develop. And Abundance Daily, it's been a part of me my whole life. And the surface answer would be, well, it's an ego thing for me. Abundance, my first name is Alexon, the same number of letters, right? Daily, Dumas, AD. Like it's that play on words, me being clever and creative. But when I think about Abundance Daily and the choice that we have, the choice of abundance or scarcity, fear or love, it's available to all of us. It's available everywhere. Daily, I want to see that. Every moment, I want to see it. And it doesn't mean that I ignore things, that I don't experience tough times and moments where I'm judging, moments that I'm like, oh, why did this person do this way? I've recognized that for my own abundance and for the clients I work with, when we get to this place where we don't argue with reality and we just accept as what is, we can love what is, then actual change can happen. If I get mad at, man, Charlene didn't do this, well, okay, I can be mad about that all I want. Or I can be like, all right, that happened. What's next? It's not bypassing, it's not brushing on the rug, but I'm not going to allow an outside circumstance to affect me. And so the work we do, me and my wife, we do with teams, with coaches, with leaders, is tapping back into that of recognizing all these different opportunities that are available for them, even the ones that are quote unquote bad, that are hardships, that are obstacles, that are problems. If we find a way to convert that into a project, let's convert that into an opportunity. Every obstacle is an opportunity. It's how you're looking at it. If I'm looking at things like, man, this sucks, there's no clients anywhere, how am I going to build my business? And this was a thought of mine for a long time. Like, where are they? They told me to build the funnel. They would come. Nobody's coming. Where are they? And then glasses on. Oh, I can see. Oh, this is a person in front of me. I'm in the business of building a relationship. Wow. I have relationships in abundance. I have more than I could even, I have time to even do. I have more than I could possibly handle. So now I get the choice of, well, where do I want to create my time with? How do I want to create my day? Who do I want to have in my orbit, so to speak, in my sphere? And that's a beautiful choice.
Right.
So that's my whole game with people. It's just, we got to recognize choices. It's not this permanent thing of, well, I did this wrong and now this is who I am forever. I succeeded once and then I'll always succeed. It doesn't work like that. We have to keep growing, and let's build on your successes. Enjoy the success, embrace it, but recognize the next hurdle is coming. The next obstacle is coming. The next wave, the next challenge from the enemy is coming. It's always going to happen unless
Mhm.
the only people who don't have problems are dead people. If you're alive, you got to have a problem. So
Right.
let's get on the right side of the lens and see where we can thrive from it.
I love that. I wonder, as a follow-up question, when you're working with clients, do you ever have individuals who believe that there's this definite end goal, and once they reach that goal, that's it? There's no more. They've reached it, and yay.
Yeah. I've had clients say, once I get this, then I'll be, and I share this distinction with them. I call it someday island. And I wanted to share for people that goals, plans, dreams like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But the issue that comes up now is that everything is all about that. When I get this, then I'll be happy. When I have these many clients, then I'll feel successful. I want to get through all that. I don't want to just race. I want to get to that finish line, and they ignore everything that's happening. And you see this time and time again. This person's successful and they're a complete mess. Why? Because they're thinking about this end goal. They forget about, well, what about right now?
Right.
I bring clients back to this place I call Now Island. Let's enjoy the process. Let's enjoy the journey. The challenges you're having now, the resistance you're feeling is going to be so worth it on the other side of it. But you have to be in this. You have to. You can't run away from it. It's part of life. It's part of our human experience. One client that comes to mind, they had this idea that their business wasn't successful and they couldn't see it. They were like, man, I'm not creating clients. I feel stuck. I feel like I'm just not making progress. Okay, sounds good. And so we just started to slow that down. Like, well, tell me what does that look like? What does that mean? Where are you at right now? Where do you want to be? And they started recognizing, oh, wait, I've created a lot of money in this in the last couple of quarters. Oh, I've actually, we started just unpacking all these things, and they started to see that, wow, I've been doing a lot. I'm actually a lot more successful than I thought I was. Yeah, it was okay. We get distracted. We want to get to that thing, to
Mm-hmm.
that thing out there somewhere is where happiness is. And I just help that person and other people slow down and recognize it's right here, right now. And everything in the past is created from right now. Everything in the future is going to be created from right now. So let's enjoy where we're at, and then we can start creating what we want to do differently, or how we want to approach things, and what's going to be the most impactful action you can take.
I love that it's very grounding. So,
Yeah.
guys, if you work, it seems like if you work with Alex, you'll get grounded, which most people, most people, and I don't mean to make generalizing statements, but I don't know if you guys notice, you can take 5 people who are around you and they probably aren't grounded. They probably are striving for that next thing and haven't taken the time to actually celebrate what's happening now. I know I worked in higher education for over a decade, and most of the time I would have to encourage students who were graduating with their bachelor's degree to actually like celebrate that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, no, let's go on to the next thing. Who cares? Right. And even myself, I had to do that when I got my master's degree. I was like, all right, whatever. Like, my mom was like, no, you have to go to your graduation so I could celebrate it. And like, I did it for my mom, but she really pushed me to recognize that that was an achievement worth celebrating and I needed to celebrate the now. So getting grounded is super important, guys. And so I want you guys to make sure you keep in contact with Alex from here on out because we all need that grounding moment to get us back on track so that not only can we recognize our successes, but we can pivot if need be, right? Like sometimes you might be too close to a situation, you need an aerial view, and there might need to be a pivot that happens. I will give an example of my work as a DEI practitioner, diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner. I'll go in trainings and people are singing their own praises. Oh, we just do this work and, we're very equitable here and we're so inclusive and we're throwing these buzzwords around. And as I take them through a journey, of learning what it is to be a DEI practitioner and what it is to actually understand theory and practice, then you get the, oh my gosh, I have to start from zero.
Mm.
Do you mean I have to start all over again? Yes, get grounded. Okay, get grounded and stop being on your high horse and celebrate your wins and learn how to pivot. So I love that, Alex. I just want to give you a moment to respond if you have, and then, I have some more questions coming at you.
Yeah, no problem. And I love that you shared that. And what comes to mind for me is Married with Children, the old TV show. Anybody who's familiar with that show knows the main guy, the main character, Al Bundy. And if you know where this is going, you're gonna maybe have a good laugh about it. What was his thing? I threw 4 touchdowns in the high school game, right? It's
Always
20,
living
30
in the
years later,
past.
and he's still in high school talking about the 4 touchdowns. And you can celebrate, but also recognize that it has an expiration date. All right, celebrate, be grounded, took a breath. Now what's next?
Guys, I think about don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. He said, yeah, you could celebrate, but there's an expiration date. Message. Message. Remember the mailman came. It was King King. Whatever they said, now the whole movie was a parody. But whenever they said something smart, the mailman came and was like, message. So guys, I'm here as your mailman. Message. This man said it has an expiration date. We have to keep moving. We have to keep growing. We have to keep, finding new innovative ways to get what our talent is to be fruitful. Yeah. So I just want to talk a little bit about this parable that shook me to my core from the word, right? So Jesus is telling a parable. It comes up in Matthew and Luke, if I'm not mistaken. But if I'm wrong, forgive me. I will put the parable and where it's located in the scripture in the description box below. But follow me really quickly. So Jesus tells a parable about a king, right? And his 3 servants. And the king is about to go away. So he gives his first servant 5 talents. And back then, a talent was kind of like the equivalent of money. And so he gives the first, I see you smiling over there, Alex. He gives the first servant 5 talents. He gives the second servant 2 talents. And then he gives the third servant 1 talent. So the king goes away for a period of time. And when he returns, he calls the servants back to see what they did with the talents. So the first servant who had the 5 talents said, Master, I have multiplied my talents to 10 talents. Well, he said your talents. I've multiplied your talents to 10 talents, right? So the master says, well done, my good and faithful servant. So he goes to the second servant and he says, what have you done? So the second servant says, I've also multiplied your 2 talents and I have 4 talents now. So the master says, well done, my good and faithful servant. So now the master goes, or the king goes to the third servant and says, okay, servant, what have you done with your talents? So the servant says, oh, master, I know what kind of master you are, and I know you care about your talents. So I took my talent and I buried it so that I could have it when you come back. So I still have my talent and it's buried. The master / king says to this servant, you evil, slothful servant, and ripped him of his talent and gave the talent to the first servant who multiplied the 5 talents to 10 talents. And that servant was casted out of the king's court. Now, I'm going to give y'all a second to digest that parable. Because Alex Dumas and his life success creation coaching helps you not be that evil, slothful servant. Now, Alex, before I get deep, do you want to break it down for us a little bit? Do you have any thoughts? I saw you smiling over there. I just want to give you an opportunity to talk to us.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a great parable, and it's such a valuable lesson. And it can be broken down into this simple statement: use it or lose it.
Mm.
You can't hide your gifts. You can't bury them away. And I only say this because I've been both of those servants. I've been someone who's buried my talents, muzzled myself, muted myself, didn't amplify my voice, and went about my life just kind of drifting, floated, not really experiencing things, numbing it with the drugs, alcohol, pornography, because I didn't see the point. I didn't see any value in it. And then I've been on the other side of where, wow, I can multiply my talents, I can double, I can triple, I can be expansive and abundant. That's fun. That's a fun game for me. It may not be for everybody else. That's fine. But what I recognize is that me in this pursuit of greatness, of growth, of abundance, that starts to attract other people who are like that. This other servant who buried their thing in the town, thinking they're doing the right thing. Like, I'm keeping it safe. Like, that's the riskiest thing you can do in the world, is be safe. You gotta. The world rewards the bold. That's what I'll leave it at.
Message. So, guys, I'm going to tell you, even for myself, after reading this parable, I was shaken to my core that the last servant was called evil and slothful, which means, one, their heart really didn't match with what they were telling the master. Oh, master, I know that you're just a master who cares about your talent, so I buried it. That was a lie, because he called him evil. So that meant that his actions and his words did not line up. Yeah. And then secondly, he called him slothful, which meant that he was too lazy to go and multiply his talent. And that is something that I never wanted to be. I always talk, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, most of the time your talent is something that comes innately to you. You don't necessarily have to try. So talk to us a little bit about what does that look like when we're talking about strategies to developing your talent and your coaching styles. How do you get people to recognize that their talent, I know we talked about slowing people down, but how do you get them to recognize that most of the time their talent is right in front of their face?
Yeah, it's a great question. This one coaching conversation comes to mind. So I was working with this mother of a military veteran, and she had expressed some ideas about going into the coaching industry and starting a practice. And she was struggling in this space of just connecting the dots of how will she make it? How will she provide? How will she succeed? This and that. And I asked her simply, tell me about your military background. So she starts reading off all these things, and I don't remember all of them exactly, but the main point of it was in times of chaos, disarray, she was the voice of reason. She was the voice of calm. She was able to slow people down. She had achieved these different promotional levels, all these different things she started reading off. And so I asked her, all right, well, for you to be a coach, which one of these people are you going to choose? The one who doesn't know, who's scared, who's kind of unsure, uncertain of themselves, or this person here who has all these gifts? I read back to her resume, if you want to call it that. I just created like right there on the spot. I'm like, hey, I want to tell you about this coach that I know. And boom, 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 boom. I just read it off. And she's like, I've never heard myself like that before. I've never thought that was valuable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, super valuable. We get into motion when we slow down a little bit, just a little bit. I'm not saying Don't go Al Bundy. Like, I'm stuck here, man. I'm great.
Expiration date message.
But just take a second, like, all right, I've done this before. I've been in leadership before. I've been in spaces where people have relied on me and I've delivered. I come through, right? This is where the confidence gets built. And she started to recognize that, oh, I do have what it takes. And then we started to look at the actual planning of what that looks like and how to execute. Because it's great to feel good, to be pumped up, to be motivated, inspired. But now I want to move that inspiration to like inspired action really quickly, because that window is short between what I want to do and what I'm going to do. There is that gap, and then everything in between is all the enemy lines, right? If we're in our own heads, we're in the enemy lines of, you know what, I want to be a podcaster, but you know, I don't really know if I have a voice. Right? We just, and it's so easy. It's so sneaky. It's just, you know, I don't know if I have the time. You know, maybe not today. Maybe not. And then all of a sudden, a month passes. Hey, I thought you were going to start that business. I thought you were going to start that podcast. I thought you were going to work this new job, apply here, whatever it is you're looking to do. Oh, well, man, you know, right?
Yep.
It happens.
It does. So most people I recognize when they ask questions like, or we're filling gaps as leaders in our industry, most of the time it's this actionable piece. How do you get people into action? Like, what is the act of action for you?
The act of action for me is creating games. That's what I invite my clients to do, or people I'm working with. I just invite them to a game. For me, I think of it as no one who doesn't like a good game. If we were in the same room right, Charlene, if I like tagged you on the shoulder, you'd be like, hey, tag, you're it. Kind of instinctively, you'd be like, you want to tag me back, right? You want to get back, and then all of a sudden it becomes like this fun thing. And I design them as games, and I call them games for clients because it makes it less heavy. It makes it this. It doesn't make it this end all be all, life or death. Oh my God, if I don't succeed, I'm gonna lose the house. Like, whoa, slow down. Just chill out. Let's play a game. You said you can't do this, or you have troubles doing this. What if we could just do one thing? What if we play a game? By the end of today, you do this one thing. Just one thing, just one action. And through that game, I want to help strengthen that person's level of commitment, because this was given to me from someone called the ultimate coach. His name is Steve Hardison. He shared this distinction with me that commitment is like a black hole. When you get somebody who's seriously committed to something, and I don't mean seriously like do or die, bro energy, gotta be like that, bro. Bro energy. You know what? I'm gonna do that. And the only way that you know that it's a real commitment if it gets done. I've been a person similar to the servant with the one talent, good intentions, really good intention. The other servants, they had a commitment. I'm going to double this. I'm going to make more than I had before. And that's the game for me with people. It's like, how can I want to just help you elevate yourself into a new level of commitment? Because this is something I declare for myself. And when people experience me, they create themselves and their commitments become truth. That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the truth. The truth is I'm committed to this and I will get it done. I want to take that to the bank. If I can cut my arm off, I want commitment to pour out of me. I want honesty, integrity to pour out of me. It's going to look like blood, but it's going to be integrity. It's going to be commitment. It's going to be devotion to what I do. That's the game. And that's when we play that way. When I have clients play that way, they win. And when you're with me, everybody wins. That's my game. That's the only rule of my game. Everybody wins.
I love it. It makes me think about Paul, the Apostle Paul, when he says, I press on to achieve the higher calling through Christ Jesus, like pressing on is super important, and it requires that commitment, that integrity, that character to say I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to give up. And once again, guys, I will give you the actual scripture, so don't worry. Sometimes, I'm still learning how to memorize scripture, but the words are in my mouth. So yeah, pressing on to that higher calling. When you have 5 talents and you want to double your talents to make them 10, that's a lot of talents that you're doubling. That means you're wealthy. So you're going to need to know how to steward over that. You're going to need to know how to be uh sound in your decision making, and it takes different avenues and different ways of viewing things in order to achieve that. So you have to like expand your lens. That's something that Imana Marina, my company, focuses on: lens capacity building. Like you have to expand how you see things. It's not one way to skin a cat, right? Like there isn't one type of cookie cutter. There are all different types of strategies and approaches to the work. And so, Alex, when you work with clients, I know that you can work with, any client, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But when you work with clients who are people of color, is there a different approach that you use with them, or do you have just a umbrella approach and you deal with people based on personality? Did I ask that question properly?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
a good
Just want to
question.
make sure
Thank you.
it's understood.
Yeah, yeah. And I think of it more in the umbrella section, but every person's different. So I really do my best to pay attention to that person's individuality, where they're coming from, and where their background is. One client that comes to mind, he was a assistant director for this teaching fellowship, and he was having some challenges with his own leadership, like himself being a leader and embracing that role, and kind of, I don't say tiptoeing, but just indecisive about some things, and wondering, well, how do I bring this up without becoming quote unquote angry black man? Okay, great.
The
So we
truth.
started, so we started to play, and I started to ask him about his background and tell me about what got you into the position. Like, why are you in this role? Not as a like interrogation, like why you, like, but just walk me through, like what created you to be in this spot.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling me about all these obstacles he had, these opportunities that he took advantage of, and similar to what I did with the story with the military woman, I just started to read him back his resume, read him back his background, and he's like, "Oh wow, like I've done a lot. I've got a lot of power in this." And for this particular person, just reclaiming that power, speaking that out, is super powerful. And we started to navigate. Well, how do you communicate this in a way that you express yourself, but you're also tapping into that person's, I don't want to say selfish frequency, but their radio frequency of WIIFM. What's in it for me? That's what they're listening for. They want to hear, hey, how does this help me? How does this benefit me? How does this make me look better? How does this make me come across more impressive? I said, you have an opportunity. You can do both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Express yourself, be strong, take a stand for your team, for the clients, but also wiggle that into, hey, you know what? If you do this, this is really going to benefit you, and this is how. Now my ears are like, this is going to benefit me. What? Oh yeah, Roger that. Game on. Let's do that.
Right.
So it's finding ways to stay authentic, but recognize you have an audience. You have people that are going to have a bias right off the rip. Okay, you could play into that story of, you know what, they don't listen to me because I'm black and I'm this and that. Like, you can play that game, or you could shift into a spot of, I know what I'm talking about. I belong here, and I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna contribute and make a difference for them. which is only going to benefit me. Now they're going to see you as the go-to person. Now they're going to recognize, man, this person has great ideas. We need to knock on their door. We need to give them a call, bring them into a meeting. We need to hear this young man or this young woman and see what else they got. They're a gold mine. It's untapped gold.
Mm. I love that. And I know I keep saying I love that every time you finish speaking, but I really do. I recently had a friend / colleague of mine come to me and tell me that she's getting ready to leave her position. And she has a high level position for the state. And she's getting literally, she's just feeling very defeated in this space. And she has a manager who is a Black man, and he's indecisive and doesn't make decisions, and he's just focusing on one side of the house and not the other side, and just not having that overall leadership that's necessary to make direct reports feel comfortable in their space and comfortable doing their work, knowing that you have their back. So I just feel like I'm going to start funneling people your way, Alex, because very often I hear this story about our people not basically having this issue, not being able to make decisions. If you were given a position of leadership, it is your job to have continuous development. You have to understand continuous education is important. Go to conferences, talk to coaches, make sure that you get in a space where you can actually lead. Managing and leading are two different things. If you want to be a manager, you're going to micromanage people. You're going to lose staff. You're going to have turnover. That is the inevitable. We are in a different workspace in the workforce right now. People are not interested in toxic work environments. So it's time for you to level up and get into your leadership space, especially because our social climate has been placing people of color in leadership positions all over the country. Do not allow them to believe that we are not fully equipped to do the work. It's your job. It's your job to make sure that you have your continuous education. I don't mean to come for y'all, but I'm really tired of hearing this from our people. And it's our people doing it to us.
Yeah.
Learn how to be a leader. There are different types of leader. There are different types of leadership. You need to tap into developing your talent. You have to understand where it is that you reside in terms of what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and learn how to have a community around you that understands that too, and you understand them too. That is the only way we're actually going to get this stuff done, because they're losing people left and right. I had another conversation in higher education where, I don't know if you know, Alex, but Black folks are leaving higher education at alarming rates.
I did not know that.
At alarming rates. Like it is a national conversation right now. And I personally, this is my personal opinion. Y'all could come for me if you want to, but I personally believe that one of the reasons is our people get placed into leadership positions and they desperately need leadership coaching, and they don't know how to make decisions. They don't know how to leverage their power. They don't understand system structures, policies, and procedures. They don't have the language to articulate. It's a lot of different moving parts. But I think if you guys, I'm bringing the resource to you. If you guys need leadership coaching, if you are indecisive, if you don't feel powerful in your position and you hold a position of power, you need to talk to Alex. You need to talk to Alex, and you need to stop perpetuating white supremacy. I said it. And then you could come talk to me when you're done. After you talk to Alex, you could come talk to me, because then you perpetuate white supremacy and you put your foot on your own people's necks, and that makes no sense. The word tells us, don't take any ways of the oppressor. And putting your foot on your own people's necks is oppression, is the ways of the oppressor. Make it make sense. Yeah. I didn't mean to, go off on a tangent, Alex, but you got me like real hyped up right now, because I don't know if you're noticing this, or if, because I know you think from such an abundance mindset, And most of the work that you do is like across different types of cultures and across different industries and across different types of identities or the intersection of those identities. So I don't know if you see it from that perspective, but it's getting exhausting.
No, I recognize that, and I honor you for that. And something you said about managing and leadership. I've been a manager before, even really early on in my career. I started off working in group homes for special needs individuals, and it was the type of work you see people on the street doing, like taking them to the movie theater, helping them with daily living activities, showering, eating, feeding, like all these different things, getting dressed. I was there like hands on with this population.
Mm-hmm.
And then within a couple of years, I got promoted to management. It was a radical jump for me. It was from here to managing and leading people, and I definitely didn't have the skills. I definitely didn't have what I would believe any qualifications. I had a degree. That's I had a piece of paper that says, like, what, I can fit this role, but
I did this.
it really wasn't that. And I would say I was not set up for success in that role because I just didn't know. I didn't know to look for mentorship. I didn't know that coaching was available. I had no idea of these things. So maybe some of these managers don't have that. I'm going to look in the bright side for them, but for leaders, something you touched on, it's a leader's responsibility for their constant growth. That's their number one job. How do I keep getting better? How do I trust myself so that I can trust my team? Because there's nothing more infuriating than like just a shadow of a person just on you, right? It's like the sun. When you step outside on a hot day, like, man, the sun is still here. Like, I'm grateful that it's hot, for the heat. I'd rather take the heat than the cold, but good Lord, like, can I get some shade?
Right.
Just like get a relief.
Right.
And you have somebody just overbearing and not understanding. This is where communication has to really be enhanced. And for a leader, understanding your people, I mean, it's critical. But also understanding yourself, understanding how do I react to this person? All right, this person needs a little bit more of like me to kind of mush them and get in their face a little bit. That's how they respond. But also, how do I be gentle with them? Encourage them, praise them, recognize them, build them up. Not this is something that used to happen for me a lot, where, and this is not me in the manager spot, but something would happen. It's like, man, who did this? Right? Man, they're always messing up. They're always screwing up. Right? Instead of just like kind of pulling out like, hey, listen, I know your quality of work is better than this.
Right.
And let's figure out a way that we can enhance this versus this public shaming, this embarrassment of somebody else. And I can speak for myself. You embarrass me in public, you've cut me off. Like, I'm
no more respect.
I'm gonna listen to you again.
Yep. Me too. Me too. Try me. And that's another thing I don't like, like, okay, I get into a position. I have a weak leader. Yeah. And due to their weakness, they never gave me everything that it is that's expected of me. Yeah. So I'm doing the job based on the job description and what was given to me. And when they have an expectation, I get punitive measures when I don't meet that expectation. Like, that's when the old Charlie from New York City might come out on you, because now I want to fight. Now I want to say all kind of cuss words and ask God for forgiveness later, because what? Don't you give me punitive measures and you never told me what you needed from me? I can't stand that. Yeah. Weak leadership needs people like Alex in their lives. Like, you should be like, I aspire to have, Imana Barina as a corporation, right, that provides different types of services for other organizations. But one of the things that I want within my organization is every time someone gets promoted or anytime someone is onboarded for leadership, we have an accessible leadership coach within our organization. Like whether they're per diem, whether they're salaried, whether they have just office hours on these days, but I want my leadership team to be coached, because you can't just rely on your Facebook titles of articles and LinkedIn titles of articles to say that you're an expert or you're growing in something. You need someone to bounce ideas off of. You need someone where you feel brave and safe to have these conversations and work through them with. That's why I think sister circles and brother circles are so important, because we need to be able to talk about this stuff. But if you are a weak leader, admit it to yourself. I'm weak in this area. Like that young man said, I'm indecisive. That's a sign of weakness in leadership. I'm not saying weakness in a bad way. I'm saying time to pivot, right? This is an area of pivot. So he sought after someone who would help him with that. You all should be doing that. Like, stop harming people in the workplace. This is why Black and Beautiful Chit Chat Connections was created, because we want to uplift the voices of people in the workplace, people of color in particular in the workplace, who are harmed on a daily basis. And that harm stems from a lack of knowledge, a lack of leadership, weaknesses in leadership. Toxicity starts at leadership. Like, direct reports don't start sipping and gossiping unless the leadership was weak, unless the leadership did something that wasn't palatable for the direct reports. It's quite simple.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's never easy. With leadership, that's why I'm excited for a collective of coaches that I've been helping to curate and build up. We call ourselves the BIPOC Coach Collective, and what you spoke about before about making leadership coaching, executive coaching, just all different sectors of coaching available and accessible for people. This is what myself and my comrades have gone to do to make this globally known, of especially when it comes to coaches of color, right? BIPOC coaches. Man, we need some. It's not even just going to DEI training, right? We want to like really expand and grow this circle out and make sure that people know that if I'm a Black man in a leadership position, there's some things I'm going to be more comfortable talking about with somebody who looks like me versus your generic type of like white man, 55, and coming from a background that's different from mine.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with those coaches. There's some great coaches like that too. This is not to poo-poo on them, but it's also to recognize, like, I need someone who's got a voice like mine, who can see what I see, who recognize the different challenges that I'm having. So this is what this collective is growing to do. This is who we're determined to be, to help curate a space for people to amplify their voices, to really feel safe. Because when someone's safe, they can be honest, and we can get to the heart of the matter really quickly, and we can do some real work versus, hey man, what's going on? I'm having a problem with Charlene because she's always like this, right? And well, Charlene's not really the issue. I'm not picking on you right now, but
no, I know. Example.
Like, this is a scenario, right? Like, she's the problem. Like, no, it's not her. It's how you're related to this issue, and then we can start to dig deep into, well, what's this mean about you as a leader? What are you seeing, or what's the story behind you as a leader, of you having to try to control everything or not ask questions? That's a big thing. I learned that early on in my leadership journey, of I don't have to be the smartest person in the room.
Okay.
And that's really freeing, that yes, everybody's looking for me to have an answer, but I can empower my team to come up with an answer. And some people might say, like, well, that's weak leadership. Oh, what are they going to think of me? They may not need me as valuable. Like, no, I'm way more valuable. I have a team. I have 5, 6 people who I can bounce an idea back off of. And with my lens and their lens, we can think of something that wasn't there before. If I try to keep it all to me, well, that's where you see like leaders stressed out, people just burning out. You won't burn out if you give some of that heat on other people. You give that fire to other people, get them sparked.
That triggers me. That triggers me because you're a leader and you're supposed to delegate.
Oh.
Words have meaning. If you guys are interested in taking my course, Words Have Meaning, I have a easily accessible download training that you can do on your own. It's on my website. But words have meaning. And what I recognize is a lot of people don't understand the meaning of words. When you hold on to things, you are a manager. You are just managing your work and managing the work of others. When you are a leader, you understand delegation and you understand the opportunities to allow for others to have leadership or exhibit their leadership. Like people need to understand the difference between the two. If I'm running an office, this is another thing that people don't recognize too. The higher up you go, the more you're supposed to delegate. So if you are a senior manager, I'm just being real, Alex.
Yeah, you don't get paid to make copies of the memo. You don't get paid to pick up the lunch. Like, I got to do all of this. I got to be the end all be all. Like you're crazy. And I don't mean to say it in a negative way, but you're crazy if you think that you can do it all. Just no way.
And you have a team of 15 people. You have a team of 7 people. You have or if you have a team of 15 people and everyone has to BCC you or CC you in an email when they're emailing outside of the organization or inside of the organization, that is micromanaging and that is quite narcissistic. Now, this is what I share with most of my folks when I work in the DEI realm, and then we'll talk more about the BIPOC Coach Collective. I want to read your mission and so on and so forth. But this is what I tell people. If you are hired, if Charlene and Alex were hired and we have a title, we were hired to do that work for that position. The default is a trust that I'm able to do that work. So if I'm working with you and you're making me feel as though I can't do this work, you have a lack of trust for me, why hire me? You hired the person because you trusted that they were going to be able to do the work. They went through the interview process. You read their resume. You went over their references. Yeah. I mean, I know we're focusing a little bit on leadership in this portion of the podcast, but I think that all of us are leaders in some way, shape, or form, whether it's with your family, with your relationship, with friendships. We all have leadership capabilities, and this is where things start to get really weird and get toxic. And I think it's good for us to bring this up. You hire someone, you trust them to do the position. If you're partnering with someone, you trust them to do their part of the partnership. This is what group process is all about. Sometimes you might have to pick up more of the slack, but believe that there's going to be a time when that person might have to pick up the slack as well, because you're not strong in everything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, leadership is everything. A goal that I've seen is that a leader's greatest opportunity is to create other leaders. How amazing would that be? Man, this person worked with me, studied under me for some time, and now they're on their own. They built their own thing.
Exactly.
That's we're here to be fruitful and multiply. Not just reproductive wise, right? Not just through our body sexually, but be fruitful, multiply. I want other leaders. I want other people that can do what I do. They can't do it like I do it, but I want them to bring their gifts into the world and share. This is why coaching schools are so important. This is why business school is so important. This is why mentorship, leadership, coaching, all these things, consulting are so valuable, because
Yes.
to have a thinking partner, to have somebody say, hey, you know what? Have you thought about this way? No, I didn't. I didn't even consider. I didn't even know that was even an option.
Mm-hmm.
So much of my successes has come from me not knowing something, and then me just asking, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or, "Hey, can you help me out with this scenario?" And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Well, why would you think that? Or why would you do this way?" And it's uncomfortable for sure. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. That's the
Yes.
that's the first part of this. You got to that ego,
Vulnerable.
that thing you
Vulnerability.
got, that baggage, that thing you have, that I'm
Mm-hmm.
the right, I'm right. You got to put that to the side for a minute and just be open to. I trust this person is going to guide me in my own best interest,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to listen to them. I'm not gonna. I'm not going to debate it. I'm not going to be like, no, you're an idiot. You're more like, wait a minute. What are they saying is true? What can I take from it and use? What can I imply? What makes sense? And if it doesn't make sense, throw the rest of it away.
Right.
Use what's valuable. Use the talents, right? Going back to this example,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever else doesn't fit or doesn't make sense or you're not able to do, get rid of it or have somebody else do it.
Eat the meat, spit out the bones. That's that.
Yeah.
So let's move into, because we're coming up on the hour,
Wow.
and I want to make sure that we don't take up all of your time. But let's talk a little bit about the BIPOC Coach Collective. So I'm going to read your mission. And guys, the website will be in the description box below. The mission of the BIPOC Coach Collective is to curate a brave and authentic space for BIPOC coaches to connect, grow their businesses, advance professional development, and elevate our voices globally in the coaching profession. So, talk to us about the BIPOC Coach Collective and how do we get involved?
Yeah. The BIPOC Coach Collective is something that started in July 2020. So our founder, our president, this woman, Reem Labib Tyson, she had this beautiful, decisive, insightful, inspired action from being in a previous coaching cohort. And if anybody of color has experienced this, then you know what I'm talking about. Where you've been in a room and you're kind of the only one who looks like you in the room. Uncomfortable, but it's one of those things like, all right, you just deal with it. It is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for her, she said, this is not the way I want it to be. I want something different. I'm going to create something different. So she started to just gather people. And I came on board September of that year, coming out of a cohort with other coaches of color. It was my first time being around other Black coaches in this separate community. And I just wanted more of it. And I'm so thankful that, God, this is the power of words. I didn't necessarily speak it out loud, but in my heart, in my mind, like, I want to be around more people like me, or not necessarily just Black people. I want like this diversity. I want really to find a family, find a community that understands. And I ask, I receive, and I find this group. And
Preach.
these past few years, we've been building on this. And recently in February, we just unveiled a membership tier structure to what we've been doing. Is something that we've talked about for a long time, and we're doing our part to elevate and celebrate coaches of color around the world. Where someone may say, I really would love to have some BIPOC coaches work with my team. I don't know where to go. Well, go to BIPOCCC.org. You're going to find them. You're going to find different flavors of people, different levels of experience, different approaches. And that's the beauty of this game. That's the joy of coaching, that there's not one way to do it. There's not a right way. My way, some people might be hearing this right now and be like, man, this guy Alex, I don't really care much for it. I don't really care for his approach. That's fine. And there's some people that they were listening like, this is my guy. Where is he? I need to go fly to North Carolina and meet this guy. I need to talk to this guy ASAP. Like, how do I do this? that's possible. And what we wanted to create was just a space for these brilliant coaches to get their just dessert, because this is something that a coach gave me, an insight gave me a long time ago, where I was feeling the frustration. You see the posters online of events, right? It's this conference going on, and you got to look for the one token, right? You got to look for the box that's checked, a man or a woman or
Right.
brand, and you got the token. We fulfilled our diversity.
Right.
We have one. There's 20 speakers. There's like one. If you're lucky. And I was getting frustrated about it, and they gave me this beautiful wake-up moment. This is a face mask, grab you by the moment. And she said to me, "It's like, why are you upset about that? Why don't you build your own table?"
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't want to hear it. One of those, like, you're right.
You almost Kanye her, but you was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Like, I ain't gonna do you like Sway. You right.
What can you say? It's like,
right. Why you had to hit me like that though? Doesn't the truth hit hard? It hits so hard.
It hits hard. It's a body shot. Like, if you're a boxer, if you're an athlete, it's just like, the breath's taken away from me, but I get it back.
Right.
Once I can get my head clear again, I start to see, you know what, they're right. If I had to build this table, how would I do it? And what I've learned as a leader, as a coach, is that I don't have to do it all myself. I have a wonderful network of people. Case in point, I want to just give you this quick example, right? So in real time, there's an article from Nike talking about how they're invested into several Black businesses. It was like a few million, like 8 or 9 million, something like that. So I shared it in the community in the BIPOC Coach Collective, and I just put up this quick thing. I was like, this is a great opportunity. And my mind says, who are the leaders who are going to be working with these grantees who are receiving these funds? Who's going to be working with these teams? My answer, us. And people were like, yeah. And then a couple questions came in like, well, how do we do that? Oh, I love that. How do we do that?
How do we do it?
I'll give you an answer. I go on their websites, on the different companies' websites, find their board of directors, find people involved in the staff, and I put up the links like, this is how we have their names. We know them. They don't know us.
Right.
Let's do something about that. That's the game. And so now that's a process of motion. That's creation. Not just, how do we do this? That sure would be nice. Maybe one day, someday. No. Let's do it now.
Message.
They don't know us. How do we fix that?
Make them know us.
We serve. We serve them.
I love that. Hey, you see, it sounds like Alex and the BIPOC Coach Collective, y'all about that action. You know what I'm saying? I'm from New York, so I'm gonna be using all our sayings about that action.
Action.
You know?
One action. One. That's all you need. One. And then what's the next?
Yeah.
And I don't know how to build a table. I know this guy's a carpenter. I know this guy's got some tools. You know, I know how to like organize people to bring a menu and get a feast. I know this person's a chef. I know how to pull these things together to create it. That's my gift. I can see it in the.
You're the coordinator.
Yeah, exactly.
You coordinate.
You got to coordinate.
Shout out to John Witherspoon, R.I.P. I'm a Miss Pops. Coordinate.
Fun fact about that movie, right? That was the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater. I was 8 or 9 years old. I had no business. Yeah, I had no business watching that movie. My brother.
Your parents let you see that?
My sister took me.
Oh my God.
I know I had to tag along because she's watching me for the day. So I had no business what I was seeing. I had no idea what I was seeing. I didn't, at that time I was like, oh, they're laughing, so I started laughing. At
least you're real.
I watched it later on. I'm like, oh my God.
That movie is inappropriate.
Strange.
It's right. Yo, she played that role. And Eartha Kitt. I think that movie is the reason why I keep my toes done. Because I don't want nobody pulling the sheets back on me.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Ain't nobody pulling the sheets back, and I got claws under there.
It's like, why? But these are part of my experiences. Like, I didn't know watch this movie, but yeah, you say like,
you get to coordinate everything. I love that. Yeah, because you know your talent, right? And you know what comes easy to you. So putting the pieces together, getting the people together, coordinating the events, that's something that you're able, not coordinating the event, but coordinating so that everyone knows their place. That's your talent.
That's it.
And you've learned how to develop that.
Yeah. Just put people in position and let them own it. Right. That's the thing, right?
Right.
Like, own it. I'm gonna give you a bit of a roadmap here, but like, you take this. And something that's really powerful for leaders is the opportunity to create agreements versus having an expectation with somebody. If I expect something from you, there's really only two possibilities. One, that you meet my expectations and it's no big deal. You're supposed to do that. Whoop-de-doo. Do you want a cookie?
Right.
And two, you fall short and now I'm disappointed. You let me down. I expected you to do this and you let me down.
You let me down.
Me, naturally, I'm like, if you expect me to do something, like, man, F you. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want. Like, I expect you to do this.
Right.
Your own internal temperature. It's like, you expect me to do, like, that's what inner rebellion, like, forget.
Right.
Right. But an agreement, right? It's a mutually co-created thing. Hey, can I count on you to do this? Yes, you can count on me to do this, and this is what will happen when I do this. We agreed, handshake, we got it. And when we fall short on that, we can always come back and revisit the agreement. Hey, I thought this was going to happen by this date and this time. What happened? Oh, man, blah, blah, blah. So next time, if I have something in place to help you and support you, will you agree that you can get this done by this date and this time? Yes. If I have this, I can do that. Powerful.
Do you know who does that? God. That's how he covenants with us. That's how he covenants with us. He like, all right, so I'm gonna remain constant. Like, this gonna be me forever. So I'm everlasting to everlasting. If I give you everything that you need to be successful, can you do your part? And when you do your part, you get benefits. If you don't do your part, you get consequences. Like, God is the ultimate leader, obviously, and his character is what every leader should be like. And real quick, I'm gonna just read what God's character is, because that was a part of my scripture today. And his character, and this in Exodus, Moses asked God to see his glory, right? And God told Moses, these are his own words. He told him what his character is. And God describes himself as gracious, merciful, slow to anger, of great kindness. Okay. So our God is gracious, merciful, slow to anger, and abundant in kindness, which means that as the creator of everything, he is the ultimate leader. And as we use different strategies to develop our talent and work with coaches and, understand the meanings of words and really not be like that evil, slothful servant, these are the characteristics that we should have: gracious, kind, slow to anger, merciful. And what Alex just showed us is that agreement, which is the covenant that God has with us. We get to model that behavior. And you literally showed us how to model that behavior, Alex. And it is directly in line with what is expected of us as, people who serve the Lord and are servants in our industries. I just think that's super dope.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's powerful when we remember that. So many great things happen when I get into a space of they should have been doing that, and he was supposed to do this, and she, and who didn't do this report? Oh, no, she was supposed to do that, right? Now I get to throw you under the bus. I get to protect myself, but what do? I destroyed that relationship with that other person. I just destroyed the trust because now they know, man, if I screw up, Alex is gonna be in the boardroom waiting to dig, to hit me with the shovel.
Right.
My work is gonna suffer now. The quality of my work is going to suffer because I'm operating from a place of either fear that he's going to be looking, or I'm going to be resentful. You know what? He's going to throw me under the bus anyway. So F him. I'll half-ass it anyway.
Listen, that I'm that kind. Not that I'm a half it. I'm not, because everything I do, it says do everything unto the Lord, right? Like, so even if I'm a servant, an indentured servant, everything I do is unto the Lord. So I'm going to do my work in excellence, but it's not for the person who's harming me.
Yeah.
You know, like they very often, Alex, you know, I always tell stories on this platform because I want to keep it real. Like, one of the reasons why I started my own business is because I would find myself in situations where my weak manager, and hey, shots fired, bow bow. My weak manager would literally you know, steal my work and say it was their own.
Yeah,
And then give me punitive measures, you know, when I decided that I didn't want to do their work anymore and not get any credit for it. Now it was some sort of villain. So I would still do my work, but it wouldn't be for them. And I would make sure I let everybody know they did not do this. I did this. I did this. You know, but at that point, I didn't have any respect for them. So you're speaking truth. You're speaking 100% truth. Yeah. So as we come up on the hour, I want to give you an opportunity to give us any final thoughts, anything that you would want our audience to walk away with today.
Yeah, the thing I would just encourage you listening right now is to take your own temperature check of your own commitment level of how can I serve somebody today? How can I make a difference? And as you grow in your own leadership journey, that's going to be a question that you're going to have to answer all the time. How can I serve somebody today? How can I make a difference? And if you're able to do that from an authentic place, not to get something, but it's a place that you come from, not a place to get to. Someday Island is a place you get to. Now Island is a place you come from. So let's be present to the now and trust yourself and trust your team. Trust the people around you that I've made the right decision. I know that this person's strong in this area, so I can rely on them. I can trust them with this. And if they're a little bit weak in this area, I can coach them up a little bit and help them. And that's only going to come from you, right? You, leader, recognizing, I can improve in this area. I need some outside help. I need somebody who can be my thinking partner. I need somebody who can be my trusted advisor. I need somebody who can just be there for me and serve me, right? I can only serve if I'm being served. Mm-hmm. So I encourage you to find that person or persons, the people, find that and just continue to serve.
So how do we set up an appointment with you? What is the process?
Yeah, the process is a couple ways. I mean, you can email me, alex@abundancedaily.com. I'm on the socials, LinkedIn, mainly at The Real Alex Dumas. That's the handle. And if you want to get connected with my community of BIPOC coaches, go to bipocCC.org and you can message one of us directly from that. We have a directory of coaches. This is what our movement's been all about. It's about us being on the forefront, see our faces, kind of get a quick snapshot of who we are and our personalities, and then you make a decision as far as, hey, I think this person can help me. She's great. He's awesome. They can contribute to my company's growth. And you just do that.
Guys, you heard it here. All of the information will be in the description box below, so you can get in contact with Alex super easy through a click. As you know, we want to make this accessible for you. We want to make sure that you can get in contact with Alex and the BIPOC Coach Collective, so that you can start developing your talent and your leadership today. So Alex, thank you so much for being on our platform. It has been a pleasure to be able to talk with you, hear your insight, and obviously touch and agree with you as a man of faith.
I appreciate you. Thank you for this. Thank you for what you're doing. I want to just give you a quick acknowledgement. Thank you for having these conversations, the real, the authentic ones, the ones that people are scared to say. And that's what happens when a person's like you, a trailblazer. They say the things that need to be said. And for the person who's ready for that kind of conversation, their ears are perked up like, whoa, Black and Beautiful Chit Chat. I need to hear more. I need to listen more. So if this is your first time listening to this broadcast, to this podcast, webisode, thank you for that word. I've been struggling for months. Like, what do I call a video podcast? Oh, a webisode. Like, hello. All jokes aside, this is the place to be. So I acknowledge you for the work you do and for the difference you make in the world.
Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate that. You're gonna make me cry. Let me hurry up and end the episode. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for being with us, Black and Beautiful family. We will see you next week, where we'll have more guests and more conversations to uplift people in the workplace. Remember, this is a professional platform with an authentic twist, because we keep it real. May God bless you. Heaven smile upon you. Have a wonderful evening. We thank you. Peace, y'all.